At 3:14 in the morning, Lucian Moretti received the call that should have sent him running. Your wife is in labor. Outside his Sicilian villa, the Mediterranean was black and silent. Inside, another woman slept in his bed. Marco, his most trusted lieutenant, asked the only question that mattered. Do you want me to ready the plane? Lucian looked through the glass doors at Bianca, then at the dying cigarette between his fingers. Not yet, he said. Keep me updated. 6 hours later, his son entered the world without him. 7 days after that, his wife disappeared with the child and left her wedding ring on his dining table. And before Lucian could find them, someone inside his empire began tearing it apart. New York feared Lucian Moretti, but the most powerful man in the city was about to discover that fear could command an empire, yet it could not make a betrayed woman stay. Before we continue, tell me where you're listening from. And if you believe some choices change a life forever, stay until the end. Because Lucian's most important promise would not be made with money, power, or blood. 4 nights earlier, rain covered Manhattan in a dull silver haze. Serena Moretti stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows of their penthouse, one hand resting on the glass and the other beneath her swollen stomach. She was 9 months pregnant. Her ankles hurt, sleep came in fragments, and every few minutes their baby pushed beneath her ribs as if reminding her that he could arrive at any moment. Behind her, a driver carried 3 black suitcases toward the elevator. Lucian descended the stairs wearing a charcoal suit with no tie. At 41, he moved with the calm authority of a man who had never needed to repeat an order. Politicians returned his calls. Judges attended his fundraisers. Men who challenged him tended to vanish from important rooms, then from every room. He had taken control of the Moretti organization at 26 and turned a vulnerable family business into a criminal empire hidden beneath construction companies, real estate, logistics, and port contracts. His violence was rarely loud. That was what made it frightening. Lucian did not lose his temper. He made decisions, and other people suffered the consequences. Now he crossed the room and touched Serena's cheek as if tenderness could make his departure reasonable. You should be resting, he said. You should be staying. His hand paused. 4 days. 5 at most. The meeting in Palermo can't be postponed. My doctor said the baby could come any day. Doctors say that because they have to. He kissed her forehead. I'll be back before anything happens. Serena studied him. 7 years of marriage had taught her every small change in his face. The tightening beside his eyes when he was angry, the stillness that came before a threat, and the careful softness he used when lying to someone he loved. Call me when you land, she said. Every hour if you want. Just when you land. He kissed her once more and walked away. The elevator doors closed. Serena remained at the window until the black cars disappeared into traffic. She did not cry. 3 days earlier, grief had already spent itself inside her. She had been drinking coffee when a photograph appeared on a luxury travel account. The image was supposed to show a villa outside Palermo. White stone walls, lemon trees, and a terrace above the sea. But through an open glass door in the background, a man and woman sat close together at a breakfast table. The man's face was turned away. Serena did not need to see it. She knew the line of Lucian's shoulders, the watch on his wrist, and the way he leaned toward a woman when he wanted her to believe she had his full attention. The woman wore white. Bianca Romano often wore white. Serena had known the name for months. She had ignored unfamiliar perfume, unexplained absences, and calls that ended when she entered a room. Loving Lucian had trained her to survive on partial truths. The photograph ended that bargain. She set her phone down, felt her son move, and called her younger sister. Elena, she said, I need the plan. Elena did not ask which plan. She had been preparing it for 4 months. Lucian's trip had nothing to do with weapons or alliances. The villa belonged to a businessman who owed him a favor, and Bianca was waiting on the terrace with wine when he arrived. She smiled as if the house, the sea, and the stolen days belonged to them. For 3 years, she had understood his rules. She never called his home. She never appeared at public events without an invitation. She accepted expensive gifts without mistaking them for promises. Lucian told himself this made the affair controlled. Clean. That first evening, he drank Bianca's wine and watched the sun disappear into the Mediterranean. He thought briefly of Serena standing at the window. Then Bianca touched his hand, and he chose the easier life in front of him. At 3:14 the next morning, Marco called. It's Serena. Labor started around midnight. Elena took her to Mercy General. Lucian stood alone on the terrace, suddenly aware of the ocean between him and New York. How far along? The doctor says it's moving fast. He crushed his cigarette against the railing. Keep me updated. Marco hesitated. In 9 years, he had questioned Lucian only when silence would have been disloyal. Do you want me to ready the plane? Lucian looked toward Bianca, asleep beyond the glass. Not yet. After the call, he invented excuses quickly. First labors took time. A flight would not shorten the distance. He could do nothing in the air. He would leave in an hour, after the next update. An hour passed, then another. In New York, Serena labored beneath hard hospital lights. Pain narrowed the world to breath, pressure, and Elena's hand gripping hers. A nurse checked the monitor and glanced toward the empty chair beside the bed. Is anyone else coming? No, Serena said. The nurse offered a practiced smile. You're doing beautifully. After she left, Elena's anger filled the room. Don't, Serena whispered. I didn't say anything. You're thinking loudly. That is my right as your sister. Another contraction took Serena's voice. From farther down the corridor came a man's joyful shout. A father was telling his family that his daughter had been born, that she was perfect, that he could not stop shaking. Serena closed her eyes. She had once imagined Lucian beside her, overwhelmed for the first time in his life, holding their child as if nothing outside that room mattered. Instead, he was in Sicily with the woman from the photograph. At 6:47 in the morning, Serena gave birth to a boy weighing 7 pounds, 4 ounces. He arrived screaming, with dark hair and furious fists. That's a strong set of lungs, the doctor said. They placed him on Serena's chest. The warmth of his body changed the room. She touched his cheek and felt something inside her become absolutely clear. She would never teach this child that love meant waiting for someone who repeatedly chose to leave. He's perfect, Elena said through tears. Yes. What's his name? Lucian believed they were still deciding. Serena had known for months. Nico, Marco called Sicily 15 minutes later. You have a son, he said. Serena and the baby are healthy. Lucian gripped the kitchen counter. Did she ask for me? The pause answered before Marco did. No. Bianca entered wearing a silk robe, holding out an empty coffee cup. Lucian looked at her, then at his reflection in the window. For the first time, the man in the glass seemed less powerful than trapped. Ready the plane, he told Marco. He reached New York the following morning with a bracelet from a Palermo jeweler in his pocket, flowers on the way to the hospital, and an explanation prepared. He would say the negotiations had become impossible to leave. He would explain that he had monitored Serena's condition. He would promise that nothing like this would happen again. Every sentence sounded weaker as the car approached Mercy General. Elena sat near the hospital window with her arms crossed. Serena held Nico in bed. When Lucian entered, both women looked at him with the stillness usually reserved for a dangerous stranger. You came, Serena said. I'm sorry. The negotiations. Don't. One quiet word stopped him more completely than any threat. He looked at the child in her arms. His son. Nico made a small sound, and Serena adjusted him with an ease that made Lucian feel like an intruder watching through glass. Can I hold him? Not right now. There was no anger in her voice. Anger would have given him something to answer. This was a closed door. He stayed 3 hours. He offered apologies, promises, and fragments of his prepared explanation. Serena listened without arguing. When she finally allowed him to hold Nico, it lasted 4 minutes before the baby needed to feed. Lucian had faced guns without trembling. Holding his son frightened him. Nico's head fit inside his palm. His eyelids fluttered, unaware that the man carrying him had missed the first moment of his life for a woman who no longer mattered. When Serena took the baby back, Lucian felt an unfamiliar kind of powerlessness. Go home and sleep, she told him. You look terrible. He understood she was not speaking about his face. In the corridor, Eleanor followed and shut the door behind them. Listen carefully, she said. My sister spent 14 hours in labor without you. She heard another father celebrating down the hall while your chair stayed empty. You did not simply miss the birth. You showed her exactly where she and Nico stand when choosing them cost you something. Lucian's jaw tightened. You don't understand what happened. I understand that you were told your son was coming and you stayed in another woman's bed. That is between Serena and me. Not anymore. Nico is part of it now. Elena stepped closer. She was 24, far smaller than Lucian, and entirely unafraid. You have spent your life making people believe that consequences belong to everyone except you. They arrived this week. She returned to the room before he could answer. Lucian went home to a nursery that had never been used. Pale grey walls. A walnut crib. Shelves of books Serena had chosen. He sat on the floor with his back against the crib and removed the jeweler's box from his pocket. The bracelet cost more than some families earned in a year. In that room, it looked ridiculous. For years, Lucian had repaired damage with money, pressure, or time. If a contract failed, he replaced it. If loyalty broke, he bought new loyalty. If a rival caused trouble, he removed the rival. But he could not purchase the hour in which Nico had been born. He could not threaten the empty chair into becoming occupied. He could not negotiate Serena back into the woman who had waited at the window. His phone rang repeatedly with problems from the ports. He answered each call because the Moretti machine did not stop for personal ruin. When the final call ended, dawn was approaching. He stared at the crib and understood that he had spent years convincing himself his family was safe because he provided everything. What he had never provided was himself. He returned to the hospital the next morning without flowers or jewelry. He brought 2 coffees from Serena's favorite cafe and left the bracelet at home. Serena was sitting upright. Nico slept in the bassinet, and Elena had gone to speak with a doctor. Lucian placed the coffee on the table but did not pretend the gesture mattered. "I owe you the truth," he said. "Yes." He sat beside the bed. For one last second, the old instinct told him to minimize, redirect, and offer only what she could already prove. The trip wasn't business. "I know." The certainty in her answer emptied the air from his lungs. "How?" "That is not the important question." She showed him the photograph on her phone. Lucian stared at the villa, then at his own back in the distant doorway. 3 years of secrecy had been defeated by one careless breakfast. "How long?" she asked. He could have lied. He had lied so often that the next lie seemed to be waiting for him. 3 years. Serena looked toward Nico. "Then you were with her when I told you I was pregnant?" "Yes." "When we chose the nursery?" "Yes." "When you left our birthing class early for a meeting?" He did not answer quickly enough. "That was her too," Serena said. "Yes." Her face remained calm, but the hand beside her tightened around the blanket. "And while I was in labor?" "Yes." She nodded as if confirming the final number in an account. "Get out." "Serena, I am not deciding your entire future in this room. I am telling you to leave now, because I cannot feed my son while looking at the man who chose his mistress after learning I was in labor." Lucian stood. At the door, he turned. "It is over with Bianca." "I believe you," Serena said. "That does not help as much as you think. Can I come back tonight?" 6 o'clock. I'll be here." At 5:40, Lucian was in the car when Marco called about a compromised shipment at Port Newark. 2 captains had acted without authorization, and their mistake threatened a fragile agreement with the Castellano family. If Lucian did not intervene immediately, men could die. He told himself the delay would be short. 1 phone call became 6. At 7:15, he was still managing the port. By 9:30, the danger had been contained. Lucian looked through the car window at Mercy General. He had spent 20 minutes parked outside, already too late to keep his promise. Instead of calling Serena, he told the driver to take him home. He would explain in the morning. Serena waited until 7, then 7:30. At 8, Elena arrived with dinner and saw the untouched second plate. "He isn't coming," Elena said. "There may be a reason." "There is always a reason." Elena reached into her bag and removed a thick folder divided by labeled tabs. Legal documents, new identification, transportation, money, safe addresses, emergency contacts. Marcus Chen prepared the divorce petition. He has represented women leaving dangerous organizations. His office knows how to protect the filing and your location. Serena stared at the folder. "He will use every person he has to find us." "I know." "He will see leaving as a challenge." "Then do not make it a challenge. Make it a completed decision." Elena sat beside her. "You still love him." "I know. But loving him does not require giving Nico the childhood we survived." Their father had also been a man of promises and absences. Their mother had spent years smiling in public and waiting in private. Serena had told herself her marriage was different because Lucian was more disciplined, more generous, and more honest about the danger surrounding him. Now she saw that money and power had only made the same wound look expensive. Nico stirred in the bassinet. Serena placed a hand on his chest, feeling the quick, certain beat beneath her palm. "Give me the papers," she said. On the 5th day, Lucian returned at noon with the bracelet. Elena was sitting by the window while Serena attended a medical checkup. "Sit," Elena ordered. He remained standing. "I did not come to speak with you. That has never stopped you from deciding things that affect me." She looked at the jewelry box. "Do you know what she wanted from you?" "I know." "No. You know what you wanted to give. Houses, cars, protection, a name people feared. Serena wanted one chair occupied when she was afraid." The door opened. Serena entered holding Nico. She noticed the box, then handed the baby to Elena. "I have been thinking about what staying would mean," Serena said. Lucian stepped closer. "I will fix this. Listen to yourself. You speak about our marriage as if it were a damaged shipment. I am saying I will change. You said you would be here at 6 last night." His expression answered for him. "What happened?" she asked. "A situation at Newark. Something important. Men could have died. Then they needed you. And once again, when someone else needed you, I disappeared. That is not fair." "No, Lucian, it is the pattern." She took Nico from Eleanor and held him between them. "If I stay, he will grow up watching his father leave and his mother explain. He will learn that promises are ceremonial and that love waits quietly while power handles more important business. I can protect both of you. Protection is not presence." Lucian's voice lowered into the tone that ended negotiations. "I am not losing my family." Serena did not flinch. "You lost the right to make that decision alone." He looked at Nico, then at her. "What are you asking me to do? Go home? And tomorrow?" "Go home tonight." The command frightened him because she offered no promise beyond it. His phone rang before he reached the car. Marco had learned that a clearer photograph from the Sicilian villa had been sent to 3 tabloids. Unlike the travel image, this one showed Lucian and Bianca kissing on the terrace. "The outlets publish in 48 hours unless we stop them," Marco said. "Buy the photographs. One editor is refusing. Then buy the outlet. Lucian, someone chose this timing. Your wife is still in the hospital. Your son is a week old. This is not gossip. It is an attack." Lucian watched Mercy General shrink behind the car. "Ferrante? Maybe. Dominic Ferrante has been quiet since we started taking his waterfront contracts." Lucian's mind shifted instinctively into strategy. The photograph could weaken him with allies who believed a man unable to control his home could not control a syndicate. If Ferrante planned to move against the ports, the scandal created perfect cover. He called his communications advisor, ordered a response, and prepared for war. At the hospital, Serena signed the divorce papers. Marcus Chen explained every page in a private conference room. He spoke calmly, never asking if she was certain. Serena signed her name 8 times. The final signature looked as steady as the first. "He will be served tomorrow," Marcus said. "Will he know where we are?" "No." Elena had arranged a car through people unconnected to the Moretti organization. 3 safe locations waited under different names. Their money had been separated months earlier in small, unremarkable transfers. Serena left Mercy General through a side entrance with Nico against her chest. She carried no designer luggage and wore no jewelry Lucian had bought. Elena sat beside her with the folder in her lap. "Ready?" Serena looked once at the hospital doors. "Drive." By the time Lucian returned to the penthouse, the divorce petition was on the dining table. An envelope rested beside it with his name written in Serena's hand. Inside was her wedding ring and a single page. "Lucian, I will not prevent you from becoming Nico's father, but I will no longer let you use power to decide what I must endure as your wife. Do not turn this into a hunt. If you love your son, respect the first boundary his mother has ever been strong enough to give you. Serena." Lucian read the letter twice. Then he noticed the silence. The nursery was empty. Serena's clothes were gone. The medicine from the bathroom, Nico's blankets, and the family documents had vanished without triggering a single security alert. His rage arrived quietly. He called Marco. "Find them." "Do you want them brought back?" Lucian looked at the ring in his palm. "Find them first." Within an hour, more than a dozen people were searching traffic cameras, hospital exits, toll records, bank transactions, and passenger lists. Nothing appeared. The car that collected Serena belonged to a company with no clear owner. Its plates changed before it reached the next camera. No credit card moved. No phone connected to Serena or Eleanor turned on. The escape was too precise to be spontaneous. "Someone helped her from inside," Lucian said. Marco nodded. "Someone who knew our systems." Lucian spent the next 36 hours reviewing his own organization. He cross-checked security schedules, communications, and household access. 37 possible names became 9, then 3. One name remained: Tommy Reeves. Tommy was 31 and worked in household logistics. He was the sort of employee powerful people stopped seeing. The man who arranged vehicles, rotated guards, repaired cameras, and knew which door would be unwatched for exactly 4 minutes. Lucian had him brought to the penthouse late that night. Tommy sat opposite him in the dark study, trying to hide his fear. Printed records covered the desk. "Who hired you?" Lucian asked. "Nobody." "Ferrante?" This was not Ferrante. "Then why did you betray me?" Tommy swallowed. "Because Serena is a good person." Lucian went still. "I was on overnight security when Marco called you. I heard that she was in labor. I also knew where you were. You had a plane ready, and you stayed. You built her escape because you disapproved of my marriage?" "I built it because she and the baby needed a choice you could not cancel." Lucian rose and walked around the desk. "Where are they?" "Safe." "That was not my question. It is the only answer I'm giving." Lucian grabbed the front of Tommy's sweatshirt and pulled him to his feet. "I can make you tell me." Tommy's face went pale, but his eyes remained steady. "I know." "And you still refuse?" "Yes, because if I give you that address, you will arrive with men and cars and call it love. She asked you not to hunt her. If you ever want your son to know you as anything except the reason his mother ran, listen to her." For several seconds, Lucian held him. Everyone in the room expected violence. The old Lucian would have used it without hesitation. But Tommy had done for Serena what her husband should have done, protected her freedom when it cost him something. Lucian released him. "You no longer work for me." Tommy straightened his clothes. Lucian turned to the guard. "Take him home. Nobody touches him." At the door, Tommy stopped. "She did not leave because she stopped loving you," he said. "It would probably be easier if she had." After he was gone, Lucian sat alone. For the first time since Serena vanished, he did not issue an order. The scandal broke the following morning. Lucian's photograph with Bianca covered the tabloids beneath headlines about his missing wife and newborn son. His communications team buried some stories, threatened others, and released a statement requesting privacy. None of it mattered inside the world where Lucian's authority lived. Older bosses followed a simple code. A man who could not hold his household might not hold his territory. Dominic Ferrante understood that code and began approaching Moretti allies along the waterfront. Don Castellano, Lucian's most important partner, called personally. "Affairs are private," the old man said. "Weakness is not. My organization remains stable. Your wife left with your heir, and an employee defeated your security to help her. Ferrante sees an empty chair. There is no empty chair. Then sit in it before he does." The call ended. Marco entered the study carrying a report. "We found another leak in port scheduling. Ferrante may know our movements before our captains do." "Tommy?" "No. This channel is older and more sophisticated." Lucian looked at the map of Moretti operations across the eastern seaboard. For months, someone had been feeding information to a rival while his attention fractured between Bianca, Serena, and rapid expansion. "How long do we have?" "Weeks. Maybe less." Lucian could have responded with immediate force. Instead, he thought of Nico somewhere beyond his reach and Tommy's warning about disguising control as love. "Keep searching for Serena," he said. "But nobody approaches her." Marco seemed surprised. "No contact," Lucian repeated. "I need to know she has money and protection, that is all." "And if we find an address?" Lucian looked at the ring still resting on his desk. "You bring it only to me." For 3 months, the Moretti network found nothing. Serena did not use old friends, familiar accounts, or family contacts. Lucian's men saw hints in Boston, Baltimore, and Providence, but every trail dissolved. During those months, Ferrante struck 3 port operations. 2 Moretti men died. 1 survived with serious injuries. The attacks required precise access to internal schedules. Lucian responded with discipline, but the Empire no longer obeyed as cleanly as before. Captains questioned orders. Partners delayed payments. Every decision now passed through the public knowledge that his own wife had escaped him. Late one November evening, a plain envelope arrived at Lucian's office. It contained a train ticket to Philadelphia for the following morning and a street address written in Serena's handwriting. No message. No promise. Marco wanted to send protection. "If this is a trap..." "It is a test," Lucian said. "That does not make it safe. I am going alone." The next morning, the man who normally traveled with armored vehicles and armed guards boarded a public train at Penn Station. He sat beside the window with a coffee he never touched. The address led to a narrow row house in West Philadelphia. Elena opened the door. She looked him over, checked the street behind him, then stepped aside. "No weapon?" she asked. "No." "No men?" "No." "That may be the first intelligent thing you've done in a year." The rented house smelled of coffee and baby powder. A photograph on the mantel showed Nico's tiny hand wrapped around Serena's finger. Lucian stopped before it. "He is sleeping upstairs," Serena said from the kitchen. She wore jeans and a dark sweater. Her hair fell loose around her shoulders. Away from the Moretti world, she looked less polished and more alive. "Can I see him?" "Not yet." The familiar answer hurt, but Lucian nodded. "I am not here to take you back." Serena studied him, waiting for the condition hidden inside the statement. "Then why are you here?" "Because you let me find you. I wanted to know whether you could walk through a door without trying to own the house. Did I pass?" "You arrived alone. That is one step." They sat across from each other at a small kitchen table. Lucian told her about the port attacks and the second intelligence leak. He explained the public scandal, Ferrante's movements, and his growing belief that the affair photograph had not merely exposed him, it had been released as one part of a larger operation designed to weaken him. "Someone wanted me distracted personally while Ferrante attacked professionally," he said. "The timing was planned. You think I was used?" "Yes. And that may mean you are still useful to whoever arranged it." Serena's expression sharpened. "Are you saying Nico and I are targets?" "I am saying I do not know. That is why I came." She leaned back. "Who do you suspect?" "Danny Caruso." For the first time, fear moved across her face. Lucian noticed. "What?" "Caruso came here 6 weeks ago." The room seemed to contract. "How did he find you?" "He did not say. He offered information about you and said he could help me remain hidden. Did you accept?" "No." I told him to leave. Lucian reached for his phone. "Don't," Serena said. "I need Marco. If Caruso is watching this house, a call creates a connection he can trace. You came here without protection because I asked you to. Think before you bring your entire organization to my door." Lucian stopped. In the old life, he had admired Serena's intelligence the way a man admired art. Something elegant, never something he expected to shape events. Now she saw the threat more clearly than he did. He put away the phone. "Tell me everything Caruso said." For 2 hours, they reconstructed the visit. Caruso had revealed true information about Lucian's businesses, affairs, and weakened alliances. But every fact had been selected to intensify Serena's anger. "He wanted me to help him," she said. "Or he wanted to know whether I could be turned against you." Lucian mapped her account against the internal leak. Caruso had managed Moretti finances for 14 years. He knew every legitimate company covering an illegal operation, every vulnerable account, and every official who might trigger an investigation. More importantly, he had encouraged the aggressive port expansion that left Lucian exposed while privately warning others it would fail. Then another memory returned. "He called me the night Nico was born," Lucian said. Serena waited. "Marco told me you were in labor." Minutes later, Caruso called about Sicily. I mentioned leaving. He told me first births took time. He said the meeting was too important and that I had hours. "And you listened?" "Yes?" There was no defense in his answer. Serena spoke carefully. "He may have wanted you to miss the birth. He knew about Bianca. He controlled my private travel security. He could have arranged the villa photograph, waited for the baby, and released it when the damage would be greatest. He used your betrayal." Lucian pressed both hands against the table. "He created the opportunity." "No," Serena said. "Do not make him responsible for your choice." The words cut cleanly. "Caruso may have placed the weapon in front of him, but you handed him the ammunition. You chose Sicily. You chose Bianca. You chose not to board the plane." Lucian lowered his eyes. "You're right." Serena had expected resistance. The admission unsettled her more than an argument. Lucian continued. "Caruso exploited the worst part of me, but he did not create it." For a moment, they were not husband and wife or adversaries in a divorce. They were two people facing the same danger from opposite sides of a small table. "We need to move you tonight," Lucian said. "I have safe addresses. Caruso found this one before I did. Your network is compromised." Serena looked toward the ceiling, where Nico slept. "Elena comes." "Of course. And you do not use this to force your way back into our lives. You move us, handle Caruso, then the divorce continues. I owe you no visit and no forgiveness." "Understood. Say it clearly. Keeping you safe does not purchase access to you or Nico." Serena held his gaze, then called upstairs. Elena, we have to go. They packed only what they could carry. Lucian explained that he had placed 2 clean vehicles in Philadelphia weeks earlier as part of the search. The first waited 2 blocks east, the second near Market Street. A woman named Rosa operated a secure logistics facility outside Wilmington and owed him a favor. Elena stared at him. You staged escape cars? I stage cars everywhere. That may be the most disturbing, useful sentence I've ever heard. As Serena and Elena gathered bags, Lucian climbed the stairs. A paper sign reading Nico hung on one door in Elena's block handwriting. The room was dark except for a small lamp. Nico slept in a portable crib wearing a blue suit patterned with white stars. His arms stretched outward with the complete trust of a child who had not learned fear. Lucian stood over him. 3 months had changed his son. Nico's face was fuller. His hands had opened. A faint curl of dark hair rested above one ear. Lucian had missed the first real smile and every ordinary morning between. He reached down, then stopped. May I pick him up? He called. Serena appeared in the doorway. For several seconds, she watched him ask permission for something he once would have assumed belonged to him. Yes. Lucian lifted Nico carefully. The baby stirred against his chest, released a quiet breath, and settled again. Lucian held him as if the whole world had narrowed to the small warmth beneath his hand. He wanted to apologize. The words would have been for himself, not the child, so he remained silent. Serena took Nico at the bottom of the stairs. You are not coming with us? She asked. No. Caruso may be watching. You leave in the first car, transfer at Market Street, then drive south. I will stay long enough to make him believe you are still here. What will you do? Call Marco after you are clear, then end this. Elena opened the front door. Serena paused with Nico against her shoulder. Be careful. The concern in her voice was small but real. It was not forgiveness. It was proof that love could survive inside a boundary without cancelling it. Lucian nodded. Go. The door closed behind them. He allowed himself 5 seconds in the empty house. Then he called Marco. I know who betrayed us. Who? Caruso. Gather only the men you would trust with your life. Meet me at Canal Street in 1 hour. After the call, Lucian checked the street. A dark sedan sat 3 houses away with 2 men inside. It had not been there when he arrived. Caruso had been watching. Lucian stepped onto the porch and waited until the sedan's headlights turned on. Then he walked toward the train station, drawing the watchers away from the route Serena had taken. Marco's people traced the sedan to an abandoned warehouse near the Delaware River. Caruso had used the building as an unofficial archive, hidden from both Moretti and Ferrante records. Lucian refused Marco's offer of a weapon. He expects force, Lucian said. I want the truth first. Truth from a man who planned this for 2 years? He spent 14 years beside me. I need to hear why. Lucian entered the warehouse alone. Caruso stood beneath a row of fluorescent lights. At 54, he looked more like an accountant than a man capable of dismantling a criminal empire. His suit was immaculate. 2 guards waited near the walls. You came without Marco, Caruso said. He is nearby. How nearby? Near enough. Caruso gave a faint smile. Then we finally have an honest conversation. Why? That is where you begin? 14 years, Danny. Caruso walked slowly across the concrete floor. You stopped being a man worth following. Lucian's expression did not change. 4 years ago, you began making decisions from ego. You expanded too quickly. You ignored risk reports. Every time I warned you, you treated caution as disloyalty. So you sold us to Ferrante. I preserved what we built. Ferrante is brutal, but rational. A controlled merger was better than watching you bleed the organization while dividing your attention between a mistress and a wife you did not have the courage to respect or release. You arranged the photographs. Yes. You fed Ferrante our schedules. Yes. You encouraged me to stay in Sicily while Serena was in labor. Caruso paused, then answered, yes. Lucian crossed the space between them and drove Caruso against a concrete column. The 2 guards moved, but Lucian raised one hand without looking at them. My son was born at 6:47 while I sat in that villa, he said. You knew what would happen. Caruso struggled for breath but did not look away. I knew what you would choose. Lucian's grip tightened. Give me one reason not to kill you. Because it changes nothing. The answer came without hesitation. It will not put you in that hospital room. It will not erase Bianca or give Serena back 3 years. And it will not make your son trust you. Killing me would only prove that despite all your regret, you are still the same man. Lucian saw himself reflected in Caruso's eyes. The feared boss, furious that someone had used his own corruption against him. Caruso had betrayed him. But the betrayal worked because Lucien had made every necessary choice. Slowly, he released the older man. Caruso adjusted his jacket. What happens now? Lucien took out his phone. Now you lose. You came alone. No, I came first. Lucien lifted the connected call. Marco doors opened on every side of the warehouse. Marco's men entered and disarmed Caruso's guards without firing a shot. They found drives, financial records, communications with Ferrante, and 2 years of plans to transfer Moretti assets. The evidence could destroy Caruso. It could also expose much of Lucien's own organization. Marco stood among the files. We can remove Caruso and keep this contained. No. Lucien, these records implicate us. I know. Turning them over will open investigations into the ports, construction companies, accounts, everything. Lucien looked around the warehouse. This empire had given him the power to make every room obey while slowly teaching him that obedience was love. Send copies to every agency with jurisdiction, he said. Cooperate fully. Marco stared at him. That will cost nearly everything. Then nearly everything is the price. Caruso laughed once, without humor. You would destroy your own empire over a woman who left you? Lucien faced him. No. I am ending the thing that made me believe she could never leave. Within 3 weeks, Ferrante abandoned the merger. Caruso was arrested on financial, conspiracy, and corruption charges. Moretti companies came under investigation. Port operations were suspended, accounts frozen, and alliances dissolved. Lucien cooperated. He surrendered records, accepted legal penalties, and sold assets to pay settlements. He retained only businesses that could survive in daylight: a logistics firm, several properties, and a small investment company. The Moretti syndicate that had ruled New York for 11 years ceased to exist. Lucien sent Serena one message through Marcus Chen. Caruso is no longer a threat. You and Nico are safe. I will not ask for your address. The divorce will proceed exactly as you requested. There was no answer. At first, the silence felt like another punishment. Then Lucien understood it was simply a boundary that did not need to comfort him. The divorce became final 8 months later. Lucien established a trust for Nico that no business failure or criminal investigation could touch. He surrendered decision-making authority to an independent trustee so the money could never become leverage over Serena. He did not request visitation. When Marco questioned him, Lucien answered, "If Serena believes I am safe for him, she will decide what to offer. I have spent enough of my life taking." He bought a modest farmhouse in Connecticut with 4 acres and registered it under his own name. There were no guards at the gate, no hidden accounts, and no rooms designed to impress strangers. For 3 weeks, he painted the interior himself. The final room was pale grey. He called it the guest room, although he measured the wall twice to see where a child's bed might fit. He ran his remaining legal businesses with the discipline he once used to control ports. He paid his taxes so thoroughly that his accountant called it aggressive. He kept one phone, one address, and one name.n. Most importantly, he changed when nobody was watching.n. He stopped sending Serena gifts. He stopped asking Marcus for personal information. He sent necessary documents on time, respected every legal decision, and never arrived somewhere uninvited. N months passed. N Elena answered one of his calls. N Serena is well, she said. Nico is healthy. He hates peas and believes socks are a personal insult. N Lucien almost smiled. N does she know you're speaking to me? N yes. N does he? N do not ask for more than I offered. N Lucien closed his eyes. You're right. Thank you. N I am watching you, Elena warned. N I know. N and I have not forgiven you. N I know that too. N good. N she ended the call. N another year passed. N non. A September morning, Lucien stood in the farmhouse yard beneath maple trees, beginning to change color. His phone showed a number he did not recognize. N he answered. N at first, he heard only breathing. Then came a child's voice. Small, uncertain, and close to the phone. N. Lucien sat down on the back steps. N and Serena's voice replaced it. N he grabbed my phone. I'm sorry. N do not be sorry. N insolence held between them. Nico was almost 2 now. Lucien had never heard him laugh, never watched him walk, never carried him through a sleepless night. N he has been saying it for 3 weeks, Serena said. He does not understand the word yet. N Lucien pressed one hand against the wooden step. N okay. N I am not calling because everything is resolved. It is not. N I understand. N9 am calling because I do not want to teach him that the word means nothing. That is not who I want to be. N. Lucian looked across the empty yard. NN. What do you want me to do? N. You live in Connecticut? N. Yes. N. Elena told me about the farmhouse. NN. It has a yard, he said, then stopped, afraid the sentence sounded like an offer she had not requested. That is all I meant. We are in Providence now, Lucian knew. Marco had learned months earlier and told him only that Serena and Nico were safe. Lucian had never asked for the address. It is about 3 hours away, Serena said. I know. You knew where we were. The city. Nothing more. Why didn't you come? Because you did not invite me. I am done going places where I have not been invited. On her end, Nico made a bubbling sound. Serena murmured something to him, and Lucian heard the patience in her voice. There is a park near us, she said. Nico likes the swings. He has made it clear that I push them incorrectly. The smallest trace of humor entered her voice. It was not forgiveness, but it was alive. Next Saturday, she continued, 10 in the morning. Lucian's throat tightened. I'll be there. This is not reconciliation. I know. It is not a promise about us. I know. It is 1 hour in a public park so Nico can meet his father. Thank you. Do not make me regret it. I will try not to. And Lucian? Yes? Do not be late. He looked at the changing trees. I won't. After the call, Lucian remained on the steps for a long time. He did not imagine Serena returning to the farmhouse. He did not turn 1 hour at a park into proof that everything would be restored. That was how the old Lucian thought. Every opening became territory to claim, every kindness a debt to collect. This was smaller and more difficult. He had 7 days to wait. The following Saturday, Lucian arrived at the park 40 minutes early. He wore no suit, only dark trousers and a plain sweater. He carried no gifts. At exactly 10, Serena appeared at the far end of the path. Nico held her hand. He walked with the uneven determination of a child still surprised by his own feet. Lucian stood, then stopped himself from moving toward them. Serena brought Nico closer. The boy had Lucian's dark hair and Serena's eyes. He stared at the stranger before him, then hid behind his mother's leg. Lucian crouched several feet away. Hello, Nico. Nico studied him. Serena knelt. This is your father. The word landed without ceremony. No empire trembled. No one obeyed. A child simply looked at a man who had spent 2 years becoming someone he might be allowed to know. Nico pointed toward the swings. Up. Serena glanced at Lucian. He wants to swing. Lucian waited. She understood the question. He did not ask and nodded. He walked beside them to the playground. Nico allowed Lucian to lift him into the toddler seat. Lucian fastened the strap carefully. Not too high, Serena said. Not too high. He pushed gently. Nico's uncertainty became laughter. The sound struck Lucian harder than any accusation. It was bright, ordinary, and completely undeserved. He kept the swing moving at the same careful height. Serena sat on a nearby bench. She did not smile at Lucian, but some tension left her shoulders. After several minutes, Nico twisted around. More, duh! Lucian's hands froze against the swing. Nico kicked his feet. More. Lucian looked at Serena. Her eyes were wet, but her expression remained steady. You heard him, she said. Lucian pushed again. For 1 hour, nothing dramatic happened. Nico swung, stumbled across the grass, and offered Lucian a broken leaf as if it were treasure. Serena answered practical questions about allergies, sleep, and the foods Nico refused to eat. She offered no promise about the following week. When it was time to leave, Lucian did not ask for another meeting. Serena noticed. I will call you, she said, whenever you are ready. Nico waved from her arms. Lucian watched them walk away. It hurt, but he did not follow. He had once believed love proved itself by holding on. Serena had taught him that sometimes love was the discipline to release control, accept consequence, and remain worthy even when nobody promised a reward. The following meeting came 2 weeks later, then another a month after that. Trust returned in inches, never miles. Serena did not erase what had happened, and Lucian did not ask her to in. Whether they would ever become husband and wife again was a question the future had not answered in. But Nico learned his father's voice. Lucian learned how to arrive early, how to listen without negotiating, and how to leave when the visit ended. The man who once ruled New York with fear finally understood the promise he should have made from the beginning. Not I will give you everything. Not I will fix it. Only this: NN I will be there. And this time. he was.